So can you actually improve at drawing hands in just 14 days? To lots of artists, hands are a nightmare, from the proportions to the anatomy. But I wanted to see how much I could actually improve in just 2 weeks by putting myself through a hands drawing challenge where I would draw nothing but hands for 2 weeks straight. Every single day, whether I was full of energy, tired, happy, sad, the hand drawings continued. And as the 2 weeks concluded, I believe my effort paid off. And I think my results might surprise you as well. So the details of the challenge consist of this. I give myself around 30 minutes each day to target a specific aspect of drawing hands. For instance, if today's challenge is gesture drawing, I'll be sitting down with my sketchbook and drawing as many gestured hands as possible. To prevent myself from skipping the challenge, I've also implemented some stakes. If I missed a day, I would have to spend an extra 60 minutes the next day drawing hands. If I missed 2 days, I would have to restart my challenge from day one, all over again. With that in my mind, I began the challenge. The first couple of days felt very slow and clunky. I was mostly just copying outlines, but then, halfway through day 2, something clicked. Instead of just tracing or copying what I saw, I started building the hand from the inside out. I imagined each hand as a set of cylinders and turned it into a 3D object in space. That one change made a huge difference. The hands weren't exactly just flat shapes on a screen. They started to feel more solid, and I could finally see how they bend, twist, and foreshorten. Alright, so after around days 1 to 3, I think I've made some pretty good progress in drawing hands from various positions and holding things. But I feel like my hands are still a little bit stiff. So that's why for the next few days, I'll be focusing on gesture drawing to try to fix this issue. Alright, so for these gesture drawings, I'm using very simple triangles to try to capture the gestures and motion of the hands and keeping my strokes very loose. Throughout this process, I also tried to remind myself that gesture drawing isn't about accuracy, it's about movement. It's about how you capture the feel of the hand, not just how it looks. I reminded myself to trust the triangle to capture every single aspect of the hands, from the wrists to the knuckles to the fingertips. So the biggest thing that gesture drawing did for me was to use these big shapes that I was already seeing in these hands and make them more expressive in a way. It is the difference between drawing a hand that looks something like this and drawing a hand that looks something like this. If you're an artist looking to bring more life into your hands, these gesture drawing exercises can help a ton. But it's also important to remember that gesture drawing isn't everything. You also have to master the foundations of breaking the hand down into smaller shapes. Alright guys, so I've spent the past around 3 days doing gesture drawings. Hopefully, my hands are looking a bit better now after I go back to drawing regular hands, and they look like they have a bit more flow. We'll see tomorrow how it goes. But right when things were starting to click, I hit my first major obstacle. I got sick, and drawing hands was the last thing I wanted to do. However, I didn't want to restart the challenge, and since I've implemented those rules, and rules are rules, I decided to power through. Since I was sick at the time, I decided to shift gears. Instead of pushing through mindless drawing, I decided to turn to one of my most respected resources out there, Brigman's Life Drawing. I knew if I wanted to get better, I needed to understand the anatomy of the hands, how muscles, bones, and forms actually work together. If you're learning how to draw the human figure, I highly recommend Brigman's Life Drawing. His approach isn't just about copying what you see, it's about understanding the mechanics behind every form. I really like the way he breaks down the structure of the hand, from the bones, the muscles, the motion, it all just fits together. By learning from Brigman, I was able to gain some confidence. Even though I was sick, that would not stop me from progressing in my hand drawings. By studying Brigman's diagrams and learning from them, I believe I've made my biggest jump yet in drawing hands. The way I was drawing hands with cylinders before to represent the different segments of the fingers, technically it wasn't wrong, but it wasn't the full picture either. I was missing some of the different bends and stuff when it comes to the joints, which really took the life out of my hands in a way. Alright guys, thankfully I'm feeling a lot better now, and for the next 3 days I'll be drawing as many hands as possible, and hopefully you guys can see the difference as we do a day 14 and day 1 comparison. This of course was the final stretch, and I knew I had to power through and ensure that this challenge ended smoothly. For any of you guys looking to improve at drawing hands, I highly recommend you create a similar challenge for yourself and stick with it, and believe that the results will come. For beginners, this could mean spending the 2 weeks by mastering the idea of breaking down the hand into simple shapes. For more advanced artists, you could simply take the time to study anatomy, or spend your time practicing drawing more hands. No matter at what level, you can still improve. So of course, at this point, my hands are looking a lot better, and I'm also feeling a lot more confident when it comes to approaching hands and drawing hands in general. I've also started shading my hands by cross-hatching to create the form and make it feel more three-dimensional. But since the challenge was nearing to an end, I got complacent, and on the 13th day, I missed the day. Even when I was sick, I never missed a day. But it just so happens on that day, I had no motivation to go to the desk and actually get some drawing done. This meant for the final day, I would have to spend over an hour and a half drawing hands. Nothing but hands. I also knew that I had to show up for this final day, since if I missed another day, I'd have to restart this challenge all over again. And although I learned a lot from this challenge, I would not want to be drawing hands for 2 weeks straight again anytime soon. So as you can see, compared to day 1, my hand drawings are looking a lot better, and they're a lot more based in anatomy now. And you can kind of see the bends and like the bones kind of underneath the hands and the different muscles as well. And I really do think that this makes the hand look a lot more realistic and a lot better than it did before. Because before, my hands were kind of just looking like robotic cylinders, but now they actually kind of do look like hands. Of course, I still need a lot more work and a lot more studying of anatomy before I get my hands like 100% accurate, but I think this is a pretty good start and pretty good progress for just 14 days of work. Alright guys, so this is the moment you've been waiting for. So here's my drawings from the first few days. As you can see, they're not bad, but they're also lacking in quite a few aspects. And I just tried my best to draw as many hands as possible. And I did still try to follow the fundamentals of getting the bigger shapes in, of like the palm and the fingers. But overall, they're looking very like stiff. But on this day, I started like using the cylinder method I was talking about earlier, and imagine each of the hand segments as cylinders. And as you can see, compared to the first few drawings from the first 2 days, they're looking a lot more realistic. And this method also helped me imagine the hand like grasping different objects and moving and existing in space. So I practiced with like a cup and like hand grabbing a cup from different perspectives. And here, these are some of the anatomy drawings, which I actually found out that I drew the gesture drawings like a few pages ahead, and I skipped a few pages. I didn't want to waste pages, so I just went back and I was drawing some of the anatomy drawings. And here are the gesture drawings, which are very messy, but I just tried my best to use triangles and simple shapes to capture the gesture of the hands as well as I can, which I think I did pretty well. But overall, yeah, and here is some of Brigman's like diagrams I was kind of copying from. And like studying his diagrams really did help me, and I focus on the thumb. I might do this for the other fingers as well in the future. Here's some of the my own hands that I drew after studying Brigman's diagrams. And as you can see, like the shading, the anatomy, the muscles, everything's looking a lot better than before. And here's a side-by-side comparison from the first and last day. The glare is kind of bad right now, but as you can see, the hands on the right, they're looking a lot better. You can kind of see the muscles, the definition some of the bone structure, and overall, they're looking a lot more three-dimensional, and I can draw hands in a lot more complicated poses. But of course, there's still work that needs to be done, and in the future, I still will be going back to Brigman and practicing, studying his diagrams, and practicing more hand drawings. And I hope you guys have learned a lot from this video today, because I certainly have learned a lot over these past few weeks. And I hope you guys can also improve in your hand drawings by following a similar challenge. So leave a comment down below on what kind of challenge you'd like to see me do next. And I hope you have a good day.